The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the worst games of the year I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong, it's a good game. Please don't come headhunt me for it, because I do think it's a good game. I think it's pretty looking. I think some of the gameplay mechanics are fun, but I just think the story sucks. The voice acting was okay, and I think the lines just are like how the whole thing was written out was just awful. I didn't believe that Dina and Ellie actually liked each other. It was just weird. And I don't think any of the characters were interesting. Like the guy, James or Jamie or who cares, he was terrible too. When he died, I clapped. Abby, she was terrible. She was like the villain that was forced down our throats to then become like an anti-hero, and I didn't understand any of that. I didn't understand where the direction of the game was going. It was stupid. But you also had games like Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Doom Eternal, the Final Fantasy remake, Ghosts of whatever, and Hades. Like, there was a bunch of good games that were on that list, and I feel like there's a lot of other games that didn't get enough credit during that year. And to be honest, they should have, like, Doom Eternal should have won that year. Doom Eternal was incredible. That was one of the best games of the year. And to be honest, giving it to Last of Us was just such a middle finger to that development team. How did they win that? What was the justification behind that? And I get it. Like, you know what's more shocking to me as just a player is, like, watching the fact that people were giving it nines, tens, hundreds. Like, why? What are you people smoking? What makes you think that this is a game that you should be buying? I told people outright, do not buy this game. I was like, when people would ask me, hey, do you think I should get Last of Us Part 2? I'd say, you're better off going to the store, buying dirt, and throwing it in your face. There is no reason for you to buy this game. Don't headhunt me. Like, don't get me wrong. It's a good game, but I don't think it's game of the year. Okay? I don't think it's a game of the year. I think it's just a good game that you should just play when you're bored or high. That's all I'm thinking. If you're stoned out of your mind, play it. Feel free. No problem. But if it's a game that you're just like, I want a good story-driven game, do not buy this. Go play the first Last of Us. That game is incredible. Go play Uncharted 4. That game is incredible. Spider-Man, Call of Duty 2, I don't know. Games like that are good games to play. Just go play those. Don't play this. Don't think this is the best story-driven thing. The thing that I kind of hated the most, and God, the Gears of War game did this. Gears 5 did this, and I hate that game too, is there was a point in the game where they allow like an open section of the map for you to play, and you kind of just go around looking for certain little things, little clues, whatever. And all of a sudden, the game just abandons that mechanic. You don't do it anymore. It's just a very linear experience. And I have never figured out why it does that. It's so stupid. Some of the level designing, whatever, level designs, whatever, is so stupid and so poorly designed because some of them are very confusing. Some of them I'm tripping up my words because I'm so frustrated. Some of them just get abandoned. Like that whole open world piece in the first, 20 minutes of the game. All of a sudden, that doesn't matter. Who cares about exploration? You're just going down a linear path the whole time. Yeah, there's certain places where you can go find cool little items, but none of it matters. And then the second half of the game, holy God, the whole second half of the game is the most boring part. Like, I played through the whole game again just to record stuff, and I was smashing my head against the desk because I didn't understand why I was playing as Ellie or as Abby, the worst anti-hero, protagonist, whatever she was supposed to be ever. Because essentially, she kills Joel in the first 20 seconds of the game, so you automatically are going to hate her because of how much you love Joel. And then all of a sudden they're like, actually, you're going to like her now because she's trying to help this kid find his family or whatever and do some cool stuff and save his sister. Why? I didn't care. I hated the whole thing. There was no point in that where it justified anything that she did. The whole time it felt like they were trying to justify what Abby did, and then it's like, but you can't, because nothing that she did was right, and she continues to do the wrong thing. She still continues to be a terrible person, and I'm not saying Ellie was like the pinnacle of just good person, all-star, person of the year, whatever. She's still a piece of garbage too. Like, she went on this quest for vengeance when Joel did bad things. Joel did bad things to save her. And that was why she ended up dying. She didn't understand. Like, how did she not understand that? And she apparently hated him for oh God, it's awful. Like, oh boy. I could go on an hour rant as to why I think it's not game of the year. Again, it's a good game. But play other games. Go play Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Remake. Play that. Don't play this. And I need someone to understand, or at least tell me, the bare minimum, just tell me, how did The Last of Us Part 2 win Game of the Year. I will never understand that. What was the thought process? How did that game get 90s, 100s, but then there's other games that were better than that? I can't think of any off the top of my head because I didn't write anything down. But how is it that any other game around that year in 2020, and yeah, 2020 was a rough year for gaming. Don't get me wrong, a very rough year for gaming. But how did any other game around it not win Game of the Year? Explain that to me. Somebody, explain to me how that other games didn't win around it. That's all I want to know. But I want to know what you think of The Last of Us Part 2. Did you enjoy The Last of Us Part 2? Did you think it was a good game? Did you think it was Game of the Year? Did you not think it was Game of the Year? Let me know in the comments, because I'm genuinely curious what people think of The Last of Us Part 2 and why it deserved Game of the Year. And if you think it wins Game of the Year, you need to tell me why. I need to know. Because I personally can't justify Game of the Year. You can't justify Game of the Year. Like, if it's a Game of the Year, it needs to be perfect all around. It needs to be, like, and not in just, like, the multiplayer. Like, I feel like Uncharted 4 could have won Game of the Year, and just, like, we could have ignored the multiplayer, because I think that was just kind of like a shoe-in kind of thing. Like, just story alone, that could have been Game of the Year. But Last of Us Part 2, like, the story's bad, characters are bad, some of the voice acting's not as great as it should have been, where the level design is okay in some points of the game. Like, it's just, God, what is it that makes this game so 10 out of 10 hundreds in Game of the Year, and all? It just doesn't make sense. Someone help me out, please. Let me know in the comments section what you think. If you enjoyed the video, like the video. If you enjoyed it enough to subscribe, feel free to subscribe. I'm not going to stop you. And thanks for watching, and, well,